Hello everybody, my name is Nathan and welcome to This and That Gaming. Today I'm going to be talking about the big old jerks themselves, the Juggernauts. In this video I'll tell you how to identify the Juggernaut in the crowd. I will be telling you about the ways in which they can most damage your character, and I'll be going over how to kill them efficiently and some tips. With all that being said, let's start with identifying. Juggernauts are easy to spot from a distance, as they're by a wide margin the biggest and tallest zombies, standing about a head taller than most fences and walls. They wear bright blue shirts and shorts, and they have a roar that sounds like this. They roar like that when they spot you or other survivors. The Juggernaut's icon on the map is this one right here. It's pretty much the thickest one among all the different zombies. Sometimes it can be mistaken for the bloater icon, but the bloater icon is smaller and not as filled out as the Juggernauts. Juggernauts like to spawn on the sides of roads, usually one at a time. They will never spawn indoors. What you're seeing here is a very rare occurrence where there's more than one. All of the Juggernauts' attacks are melee. They will all knock the player to the ground, deal a significant amount of damage, and possibly injure your character. The two you need to be most concerned with, however, is his grab attack. He'll pick up the player, bite them on the neck, slam them on the ground, and then slam them again in the ribs. This almost always injures the character. The second one he'll use when your character has critically low health. He'll pick them up and rip them in half. This will kill the character instantly. It's worth noting that Juggernauts do way more damage to vehicles than other zombies do. Whether you're hitting them with the car or whether they charge at the car, they deal a lot of damage. That being said, there is actually a good way to kill them with your vehicle, and it's as simple as running backwards at them instead of forwards. The game calculates car damage based on whether it's hitting the engine, so as long as you're hitting them with the back of the car, it'll still take damage, but not nearly enough. The trick here is to hit them 4 times at a relatively high speed, and they should kind of succumb to that attack. It's not my favorite way of going about killing them, but if you've got a big old truck, I wouldn't do it with a taxi. Try a truck or a big van or something tough, and it's not a horrible way to get rid of them, especially if you're in a tight spot, out of ammo, stuff like that. Another great way to kill Juggernauts is with your gun. Now, if you're fighting a Juggernaut on foot, which you usually will be, it's really important that you clear the area of other zombies first. You don't want them interfering. It'll just make the whole thing way more difficult. So just kind of peek around, see if you see any zombies lurking. Maybe, double check, do a real quick scan. Get rid of them first, preferably before attracting the Juggernaut's attention. And then once you're comfortable with how few zombies there are, then go for the Juggernaut. Now, using a gun is probably my favorite way to do it. What you want to do is you want to constantly hit him in the head, just over and over and over again. Now, as you're doing this, you'll notice as you're stacking on the damage that the Juggernaut will stumble, like he'll kind of falter a little bit. Now, you have to have him falter like that 3 times, and then the 4th time he does, that's when you go in for the execute. Now, executing Juggernauts is not the only way to finish them. You can keep stacking on damage with your gun if you want. But since they charge you and they're usually relatively close, this is pretty much the best way to go about killing them. So you just jump on top of them and finish them off like that. A good gun for this, if you have the ammo and don't mind how loud it is actually the Barrett, not even the Barrett 50 cal, any 50 caliber gun. This is because a single headshot from any of these guns makes him stumble once, which means in a perfect world, you only need 4 shots to kill one of these guys. Now, these types of ammo and these types of guns are fairly rare, and there's no way to silence them. So it's kind of high risk to do it out in the field, just because everything in its mom is going to hear you, but it is extremely efficient to do it this way. And of course, you can kill them with melee. Now, the trick here is usually when you're fighting them with melee, they'll stand still. And then really what I do is basically if they start to move at all, just dodge away. You don't need to know what kind of attack it is, just get out of his range and then come in and just constantly hit him in the head. Now this does a number on your weapon's durability, and bladed weapons are the best for this just because they move so much faster. It is efficient to kill them this way, but again, it's a little higher risk because they have melee attacks. Are their only way of hurting you. So I like to do it from a distance, and of course you can obviously do this with blunt weapons as well. They're just a little slower. The last way I'm going to show you to kill Juggernauts is actually with explosives. Now, I wouldn't recommend using soda can bombs or Molotovs. Really, just don't ever use fire against a Juggernaut. They're basically immune to fire, so don't even bother. And soda can bombs themselves are explosive. They're not fire, but they just don't do enough damage. You have to use a lot of them. Grenade launchers are amazing for this. It takes 4 shots and they die. It's hilarious. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Nathan, what if I bring another survivor with me? Surely that'll make it easier. And I would say, generally, no. I don't like doing it that way. But if there is a large group, yeah, it does help a little. The tips I have for you today are threefold. The first is that Juggernauts are generally too big to fit inside of buildings, which means they won't follow you in. But you're far from safe when you're in there. See, what they'll do is they'll roar constantly and pound on the building, and this attracts all the zombies in the area. It's really loud. So I recommend if you need to get away from one, run into the building and run out the other door if you can, if there is another door. The second tip is that they can climb over knee-high walls, but not head-high walls. That's another good way to get away. The third tip I have for you is that unless a Juggernaut is positioned in a place that you need to be, generally just live and let live. They're too slow to chase you efficiently, and you can kind of just move around them. So if you don't need to kill one, don't bother wasting the ammo on the fight. Okay guys, that was my State of Decay 2 Juggernaut guide. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope it helps you survive out there. Have a good evening and take care of yourselves.